Celtics Talk Podcast is presented by 24autogroup.com. 11 locations across New England.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Celtics Talk Podcast here on the NBC Sports Boston Podcast Network. Got a fun one for you today. Coming up, DraftKings founder and president Matt Kalish drops by. He's a Celtics super fan. He's got some front row seats. He's always checking out the action. Wanted to catch up with him, not only about what DraftKings is doing, as you probably see in our programming, pretty DraftKings heavy, but just what's it like to be front row for a team you grew up watching and now on the cusp of championship material. Thought it was a fun conversation with Matt. And I got my guy Giles stopping by because, again, I've seen you guys, you watch our programs, you know there's a lot of gambling content going on, and just had kind of an open and honest discussion about what the future of betting in Massachusetts, and as we put it into our programs, you know, what it means to the viewers and everybody. But let's start with our conversation with Matt. All right, Matt, I want to get into DraftKings and everything that's going on there, but I have to start with your fandom. You popped on this Zoom call, the little Celtics logo popped up immediately. I've been on your IG page. You got Time Lord artwork. I felt like we're going to be best friends immediately. I see you at all these games. Take me through your fandom. Like, how, I know you were born here. Like, what's this been like a lifelong Celtics fan?
Yeah, I've been around Boston my whole life, pretty much. I was born in Lowell. My dad was born in Lowell. I think my Jaju on my dad's side was born in Lowell. So we're kind of from here, you know. And when I was growing up, all of the lore from the Celtics was something that was a big part of my childhood. And I caught the tail end maybe of the Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish era. And was a little too young to appreciate some of those titles and the MVPs and everything, but I knew the lore, and even going back all of the stories of, you know, you name it, Bill Russell and whatnot. It's a storied franchise, you know, and coming out of college, the Patriots were just sucking all of the energy from New England. There was the Red Sox breaking the curse that was sucking all the energy. And then, you know, when Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and everybody brought the title to Boston, I thought that was like my first moment really seeing the Celtics hoist the trophy. And I just love that team. Paul Pierce was like one of my favorites. And I never had the ability, though, to like really go deep with the Celtics. The two reasons were really, I didn't live close. I wasn't close enough to the stadium where I could really go to a ton of games. I grew up in a combination of Southern New Hampshire, Metro West Mass. It was always like an hour plus to get there, right? So it wouldn't have been possible to go to every game, really. And also, just like I didn't grow up with money in any way. So it was, my parents were military. They didn't go to college. My dad worked in a prison his whole life at Billerica House of Correction.
Oh, wow.
My mom was a hairstylist, you know, and so it just wasn't like financially something that was possible either. So it's only very recently, kind of coming off of COVID, where, you know, I moved a little closer to the arena and I had the ability to get some season tickets, and like that really, I thought, brought me closer than ever to the team. And the last 2 years, I feel like I don't know, I'm like one of the biggest fans. I feel like I'm like out there every game, and my whole family is rallied around it as well. My wife is obsessed. My oldest daughter, she's 13. I'm convinced she's going to work in the league somehow.
Nice.
But she knows everything. She's like correcting me on stats, and you know, like Jaylen Brown has 23 points a game, not 22 or whatever, you know, so she's like exact on everything. And it's really just become a big thing in our house.
When she's ready to dive into net rating and all the advanced metrics, send her my way. We will have fun. We can sit there and crunch Time Lord numbers all day. I actually feel your pain. So I grew up in Worcester, and we got the Celtics like once a year in an exhibition game out at the Worcester Centrum. Until then, they had some disaster in the 2008 season where the ice water condensation came up, and they haven't been back since. So I'm trying to get the Celtics to eventually come back out to my neck of the woods. But you've got some great seats there, sort of near the visitor bench, right? Like, what's the best interactions you've heard on the floor? You must get some juicy stuff in those seats.
Oh yeah, I mean, the timeouts, all the different interactions with, the coach to the refs or players, refs, and all of that. Like that's the place. And I've always liked being on the visitor side because you see a lot of the Celtics, but you get all the different stars throughout the league are in town from time to time. And I've seen everybody at this point. Like LaMelo was in town. We saw LeBron a couple days before he broke the scoring championship record last night with like Donovan Mitchell, and seen Jimmy Butler a bunch, Steph Curry. Like these are just moments that I'll never forget, and my family will never forget. And whoever I'm going to the game with, I go with a lot of our like big players from DraftKings. I go with a lot of business partners. I've met a lot of new friends there, and like these are moments where you're just so close to the game, you never forget like who you were with when you met, or saw Steph Curry the first time or whatever. When Steph Curry hit the half court shot on us or whatever,
Unreal.
right before the half. Yeah, these are just the best memories. And I don't think there's any sport that gets you in the game quite like the NBA. I mean, I've been to everything, and even something like UFC or boxing where you could be ringside, it's like nothing quite like that intimate. You hear everything, see everything, and it's truly special.
I'm gonna get you mic'd up on the sideline because like the media feels like we keep moving further and further back, and so I need to know what Marcus Smart is saying to the officials, and you get all that good stuff sitting down there. How you feeling about this year's team? Obviously, a lot of expectations coming in. They've hit some bumps in the road along the way, but we've seen some pretty good basketball throughout the year. How you feeling about their title chances?
I feel good. I feel like a lot of it may come down to health. Like the team seem quite proven at this point. I don't think any reasonable person would view them as like not the favorite. And sports books and people are putting their money where their mouth is as well. Like the Celtics are the favorite right now to win the title. And the injury bug, you never know what could pop up. I know that's gotten us in the past. Like maybe that prevented us from going back to back. When we had the Paul Pierce and KG got hurt, and we kind of, weren't able to repeat and stuff like that. So I definitely think the team is good enough, and the culture. Like I've seen a lot of the teams throughout the league, and nobody has quite our culture. Nobody has quite the disciplined execution I feel like that the Celtics do, and I think it's you have to really appreciate, I think, some of the work of the coaching staff and Coach Mazzulla and the leadership on the team to hold the bar that high, because the precision is really amazing. Like you're not seeing the Celtics shoot a bunch of long twos or take bad contested shots. Their shot chart, you see like everything's just sprinkled all around the 3-point line, or it's under the rim, like a Rob Williams putback or something. Or it's like Brogdon getting into the paint, or Jaylen Brown getting into the paint and finishing, but no low quality shots, really, really just high bar on defense. And I just haven't seen any team that executes at that level with that kind of high of a bar. So it's, I think, a world-class like execution in my opinion.
Who's your guy? Who'd like, I don't know if you got jerseys. I don't know if you're like, obviously I've got president of the Time Lord fan club. I've loved every minute of the Rob experience. Who's the guy you're most locked in on when you're watching these games?
Yeah, it's funny you said that. Rob Williams is definitely my favorite player.
Yes.
I think he's, and I collect a lot of sports cards and everything as well. I gotta have one of the best Time Lord. I got all of his stuff here. Like piles on my desk. Rob Williams. He's like my favorite. I'm obsessed with him, and it really is two things. One is he come across to me as like a very like humble, hardworking, like consistent, high performer, right? He's not I've never caught him looking for praise from anybody. He does his job, and some of the plays he can make on the defensive end I just don't see anybody doing it. Like the blocks from 3-point range where he can kind of close the gap. And I think he had one really special one a couple weeks back where it was like a block and then a finish on the other end. And I just have never seen a play like that. I'm like, who does that? And so just the way that he can like impact the game, but without really like grabbing all the attention, it's something that I've really valued. And it seemed like he creates a lot of his own scoring, a lot of his own points, because all Rob really does is a couple lobs and he gets like some offensive rebound putbacks. They're not looking for him to go shoot. He's not shooting jumpers. I've never seen him shoot a three, maybe once with like a shot clock.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but he just creates these points. Like he'll find a way to get 10 to 12 points a game. And every game he has like the same stat line. It's like 10 to 12 points, 10 to 12 rebounds. He gets like 3 blocks, just consistent,
Yeah.
And I like knowing what you can expect and having just like a super solid guy there. So when I talk about injuries, I'm like, I look at it like, if he's healthy, I think we have a really good shot.
I'm with you. And I tell people that all the time. The other thing I love about him is he's just so down to earth. And he obviously had the whole thing about missing the flight to his first practice and missing the conference call. And we all came up with the Time Lord name sort of spawns from, pretty much the media's overreaction to his little snafus. But like, he's the nicest guy, most down to earth, just small town. I don't have a card. The only baseball card I have nearby is Danny Ainge. My neighbor brought this over, and that sits on my desk. But I do have my Time Lord bobblehead that I carry with me at all times when he was up in Maine. And it is one of my cherished possessions. When a Celtic fan came up to me during the finals last year and got me outside and said he had a couple extra. And I now owe this man my undying faith, because it is the kindest thing that anyone has ever done for me. And I need the Celtics to get themselves a Rob bobblehead because I do adore him. I'll go from the most positive thing I can ask to, I got to ask you. So you host a podcast with Gary V, who somehow shows up every time every 5 times I scroll through my Instagram reels, there's a Gary V video. He is just everywhere. But he's also a Knicks fan. What is it like having to, both as the Knicks start to play better, have to hear Gary V get excited about the Knicks, and sitting there watching those games with him? What was that experience like?
I feel like we've run pretty bad in the games where he's there. And maybe part of it is like he brings an aura, but I don't think so. I think it's bad luck. Honestly, I don't want to give him too much credit.
Right.
But he's a good fan. He's a good Knicks fan, great Jets fan, like very passionate, very committed. It's fun to watch sports with him. And he has this thing called like Sports Gary, which is where he gets super like no holds barred. He doesn't care, right? He just wants to win. And it's like the part of his life where it's not nice and pretty and it's not curated, it's not great. He'll like say whatever, right? And a lot of our conversations have been like, I hate the Celtics. I hate Jason Tatum. I mean, I like him as a person, but on the court, I hope he, I hope he scores 0 points and gets blocked 7 times. And I told him, like, the Knicks, like, you're not in a position to hate the Celtics because the Knicks have so much work to do to get competitive at that top tier. Where I'm like, unless you're the Bucks or the Sixers or Golden State or like Phoenix or very few teams I think are at that tier. And everyone else I think should be worried about themselves, like not hating on the Celtics, but you should be worried about improving and getting competitive with teams like the Celtics. And then you can have the rivalry, right? So I don't view the Knicks as like good enough yet to be a rivalry. And I definitely view teams like the Bucks or like Miami or the 76ers or whatever, like when they come into town, those are the games where I'm like, oh yeah, it's a rivalry. Like that's who we have to get through to win. So I guess that's my take, but the Knicks
I'm with you. I'm with you. Like even the Sixers, I'm having a hard time giving them the credit because they just haven't showed up against the Celtics in recent years. But yeah, like the Knicks, at least they're winning games against the Celtics lately. At least they're giving us a reason to buy into them. But I agree. I need to see it on a bigger stage before I'm ready to buy in. So I saw on your Instagram page, you posted the old, you guys were all outside the old Winter Street office of DraftKings. What is it like, especially as you prepare for DraftKings to really launch here with the mobile betting in Massachusetts? What's it like to see this thing start to explode here in Massachusetts?
it's pretty amazing. I've been more and more seeing on local, the local news or whatever, the pre-launch advertising. So it's coming. And when a new product like sports betting opens up in like Mass, this will be the 22nd state, I believe it is. So the way it works is a lot of people sign up on the first day, the first week. So there's this big boom of like, it's here, lots of awareness, lots of marketing. And then that kind of comes down a bit over time. So I've definitely seen that start to get closer and closer to the peak. And it's exciting. Like I've, for years and years, lived in the Commonwealth. I grew up in New Hampshire, but ever since college, I've lived in Mass. And seeing New Hampshire pass the bill years ago, seeing Connecticut get there, to the west, New York is live. You go down, Pennsylvania's live. Jersey is live, all around us, West Virginia. Like, I feel like everybody's passed the bill, and I knew it would come, but to see it actually here is so exciting. And I also give a lot of credit, the regulators have a very, I think, tough job anytime they have to figure out a regulation for a new product and bring it to market, do licensing, figure out who's suitable to operate and all of that. It's a big effort. And the state legislators as well, so much to do, so many priorities. So like to fit that in and prioritize getting sports betting done, like that means a lot to us. And, it makes me proud that DraftKings was built in Mass. We're based in Boston to this day and not going anywhere. So it's great to have the support of our home state, really. I think it'll be our best market, hopefully. And all the years and years of we've created thousands of jobs in the state, operated, I think made customers happy. And hopefully this will be just that next phase of things in Mass.
I can tell you from, my perspective, I always very aware of it, and it's part of sports in general, but we've started doing DraftKings segments on our programs. And I mean, from the race to 15, the 3 threes in the first 3 minutes, like these little props that I'd never really considered. It's a lot of fun, and it adds like little pockets of interest to the game for even someone who I guess wasn't as in tune with it. I mean, I just think it's going to add some excitement to the way people watch games and view it, and to just have the accessibility here in Massachusetts. I mean, what are you most excited for with as we get started here with DraftKings and what this means for the casual fan?
I'm excited to go to the game and just see people pulling out the app around me. And, like you said, there's so much you can do, not only pregame, but like the in-game options are pretty deep. Lots of different live betting that you can do. And like next point scorer, 2-pointer or 3-pointer is next. The constant like updates to the lines, the totals, all the different kind of player propositions. Just like anytime you have a hunch about something at the game, you can pretty much like find a betting market that covers what you think is going to happen. And that's what we love to do, is just predict things, make games for people that love, using their brain, thinking, predicting things. And when you're right, you have something to gain. Like that's the whole like essence of everything we do, is building those games. So I feel like I have the best job in the world, because it's what I love doing, is sitting there and just like I love predicting, but I also like coming up with like these ideas, like these concepts around what kind of betting markets that people would love that maybe they're not even thinking of yet, And so it's a really fun job. I love creating that kind of content and working with like one of what I think is the best technology teams in the world. We have like I think an association with a lot of people as a sports brand. That's probably a lot of people have an impression it's like sports bros that are like hanging out and going to the bar watching sports. It's a tech company that would rival like what you would find at Google or Facebook or Twitter, or like the best tech companies in the world. That's like the caliber of product development, engineering talent we have, analytics talent. And like it's just amazing to see like thousands of really talented people come together and build these kind of products, and just year after year raise the bar, innovate, and ultimately, like I think that's what led to us being a market leader in the space.
And at the infancy of DraftKings, and when you're first getting into it, and when you're daydreaming about what it could be, could you have ever imagined what it is and what you're gonna arrive at here when it goes live here in Massachusetts?
Yeah, having it at home, I think will really, you know, that'll be the real manifestation for all of us that are based out of Boston that haven't like lived in the state where the product's been live. And yeah, I can't tell you how excited I am. I've like spent a good amount of time up in New Hampshire. My dad lives there in Seabrook. We have a sports book in Seabrook, New Hampshire. It's actually like our biggest retail sports book in the country, believe it or not.
Oh, that's crazy.
Seabrook. And in terms of just the amount of betting that we see. And my dad just loves hanging out there. He's like, my kid is at DraftKings. You know, he's just grabs a beer, watches the game. Maybe he'll bet like $10. And it's like, yeah, DraftKings. That's like my kid's working at that company. There's talks to all his buddies. And yeah, it's funny. Sports and sports betting brings people together in that way. It's just become part of culture. And yeah, I'm excited to see how that kind of like changes sports fandom around Mass.
All right, let's wrap up on this. I was scrolling through your Instagram page. I saw you got a Larry Bird rookie card, the one with like Dr. J on it and all that. Like, give me some of your other hobbies away from this all. Like, what else are you passionate about? And what's it like to find some of these treasures? That's the other thing that brings me back. The Celtics weren't always good as a kid, and we didn't. You were right. My vivid memory of Bird is like him laying on the sideline, unfortunately, with his bad back, and I got to see some glimpses of it, but I respect the history of it. I've watched all the tapes, and going back, like, what's it like to be able to find some gems like that with the Bird rookie card?
Yeah, it's funny because growing up, definitely my biggest hobby was collecting sports cards. It was probably like $2-3 packs of cards. The first thing I remember chasing was Shaq rookies. There was this product like it was a 1992-93 Fleer Ultra, and Shaq. So
I have like 4 boxes of unopened Fleer Ultra Shaq. My mom used to buy them from the local card shop, and at one point I feel like they were really valuable. Not so much anymore. The market might have been flooded, but same deal. Like, I hold on to those because they are my childhood. They are a reminder of what I saw.
Yeah, at the time it was, you're buying a pack of cards that's $3, and if you get the best thing, it's like $100. Mm-hmm. The card market has changed a lot. It's gotten very premium. Probably like starting in the early 2000s. Some of the products like Upper Deck, Exquisite, and then Panini with National Treasures and Flawless, and some of these really high-end products. And, in the case of the Bird Magic rookie, this is a really special card. There's 2 in the world who are of the grade, like the pristine 10 Beckett, Larry Bird Magic rookies. And I was like, I feel like Boston should, like, we got to get that card back to Boston, right? And I don't know who had it. It was just like put up on auction on Golden Auctions a couple months ago. And I was like, if the price is right, I'm going to grab this because I feel like we should just own this card. Like, we need to have that in the Celtics atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the way I was looking at it was, it's a part of history. It's a really important card to the hobby. The fact that, I've been fortunate, lucky in my career and was in a position to like take a stab at it made me really proud. So I don't think there's any other card maybe more meaningful to Celtics. Maybe like the Bill Russell really high grade rookies from Topps was like 57 Topps. I think Bill Russell is way up there. But there's very few cards. Larry Bird has a couple like second year cards that are pretty nice, but nothing that's of the caliber of the Magic Bird. So just seeing that, I hold it every day. You wouldn't believe it. Literally hold it. I look at it. I'm like, anytime something special comes up in Celtics kind of memorabilia or culture, I always like try to take a stab at it. And
That's awesome. I need you. We need to test its mojo. I need if this team is lucky enough to make it back to the finals, you put in like whatever the best casing it is, and bring that courtside with you, and see if it can help will them to another title. I'm hopeful. Like I said, what's it going to be like if if this team gets back to the finals. Were you able to sit courtside there last year? Like, what is it like to watch those games, and how excited are you about that potential again this year?
Yeah, I was there last year. Game 3 was kind of like the peak energy in terms of just feeling super confident, like we are going to win the title. And then I was there for game 4 and 6, which were not so great. I think it's just part of, I do believe the team could be a dynasty. It could be a team that's like of the caliber of, what you saw from whether it's the Miami Heat or whether it's more recently Golden State, and, some of these really great, the Bulls from years back that won like 6 championships. I don't know, but I think this core, if we can just keep the core together and keep sort of like gelling, the team is very young. I think Al Horford's the oldest by like 8 years on the team. And contracts, I was looking, it's like Grant Williams is up. So hopefully we can figure out Grant Williams. And then, but the team in general is like pretty much in place for a year or two here, right? And so I think if we can pick up some momentum, maybe win a championship, keep the core together, I don't know. It could be a pretty exciting next decade. Tatum's like 24, right?
I mean, he's about to turn 25, but come on. It's still crazy to think that he's got another decade of probably really elite level basketball ahead of him when you consider the way he's playing now.
Yeah, like the caliber of like Jason Tatum being literally the first person ever to, or the fastest person ever to score 1,000 3-pointers by age. Only 24-year-old ever to do that. It's insane to think about, just like the pace he's on. And I think Luka will get there too. I don't know if anyone else will be able to get there anytime soon, but very few people I think are, of that skill level. And then to have the pieces, the Jaylen Browns, the Robert Williams, the Marcus Smart, Brogdon off the bench, who's the best 3-point shooter in the league, quote unquote. I mean, I know lots of opinions on that, but was it like by percentage? Just the math is the math. He's the highest percentage 3-point shooter through the first half. And, but it's not even just him. Everyone can shoot. Al can shoot. You could put Sam Hauser out there and he's going to shoot a high percent. You can put Muscala out there now and he'll hit his shots. So it's like, who shouldn't be shooting is hard to figure out. And yeah, you see these games now where Tatum can score 14 points and they win or whatever, right? And so I think it's a really deep team that's exciting, and hopefully we can keep the band together and go on like a pretty nice dynasty run here, like almost like the Patriots did.
I love it. You mentioned that energy. Let's make all the Patriots fans jealous for watching the Celtics kind of take over the market for a good stretch here. Hey Matt, congratulations on everything with DraftKings. It's really cool to see. It's really cool to for me just to kind of start to see it blossom here and what's happening, and enjoy those seats. I'll come say hi at the Garden one night, and let's see how far this team can make it.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Let's do it.
Look no further than the award-winning 24 Auto Group. With over 2,600 vehicles in stock, the brands you love, backed by the savings and service you can count on. Visit today or shop online at 24autogroup.com.
All right, super fun stuff for Matt. I'm just super psyched for him. Imagine, you're born here, you grew up kind of around the team, and then you start this venture that is sort of surrounded about sports, and you have to wait patiently to sort of launch it in your own backyard. And well, now it's here, but that does offer a good jumping off point, because, we're doing a lot of DraftKings segments in our show. And I was someone who hadn't really dabbled in that market before. And it's been interesting to me. And I wanted to share my experience because I'm sure others are looking at it from the outside and thinking, man, like, how should I feel about this? And so I got my guy, Tom Giles, because Tom's been ahead of all of this, really knows his stuff. We're going to use it as a discussion point to talk about some Celtics related stuff, but I also just wanted to, again, check the temperature on this and talk a little bit about what it's like for DraftKings and others to be invading our market. call me Giles.
What's happening?
This one's all about gambling, so I had to go get my gambling guide.
Whoa.
So, like, gambling is about to become a big thing in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Let me start here because it makes some people uncomfortable. I didn't know what to think of it at first. How should I feel about gambling coming in? And I know that's a big, like, open-ended question, but as someone who has embraced it from the beginning.
Yeah, I think that if you're approaching it as a form of entertainment,
yes,
and just a way to have fun, then that's the right way to do it. I think if you're approaching it like, I'm going to budget,
right,
$100, $200, whatever I have that I would spend on entertainment as something that you are not going to get back, then that's probably the right way to go about it, because chances are that you're not going to get your money back. You might win, but I think you really need to think of it as, okay, I'm paying for this entertainment, and this is for fun right here, and I'm going to do the same game parlay. I'm going to have Damian Lillard under 35.5 points. I'm going to have Jason Tatum over 30.5 points, and the Celtics to win. And then, it's fun until you don't see Jason Tatum getting on the floor in the fourth quarter. And you're like, I was that close. I was 1 point off. But it's just, I think if you're approaching it saying, hey, this is just a way for me to kind of have fun as I'm watching the game, put together a parlay or whatever it might be, or, just to, bet on the Celtics and you're not risking, money that you can't lose, right. As long as it's something you're comfortable and considering it, like a movie ticket or, whatever it would be, just something like that. You're going to be okay with it.
I look at it this way is when me and my buddies go out golfing on Sunday mornings, there's some side action going on, right? Like there's always a little bit of this, and it takes the experience, which I already enjoy, and either ruins it because I'm not good enough at golf to beat my friends, or enhances it on the 1 week that I do, miraculously play well. And what I've found is I've dipped my toes into this, new landscape of what's out there, is that it's, even if I'm just having fun with it. So when we're sitting there and saying, which is going to be the first team to score, I'm putting in like an hour's worth of research, trying to figure out who wins tips, who who's feeling it, who might Joe Mazzulla drop the first play for. And then for the first 30 seconds of the game, I am like riveted. If someone comes by my desk, I'm like, no, away. And it does I'm not even like actually invested in this. I'm just, playing along. And I think so whether you do or whether you don't, and whatever your limits are, it just enhances the experience for me. And I think it's fun. And Matt actually talks about this in the podcast, is he can't wait to see, because there's so many things you can bet, like who's going to score the next basket.
Yeah.
And so if you just need a reason to be further entertained by the product out there, it's intriguing to me. So the other thing I would say is, the part I like about it is it gives me a jumping off point for broader discussions. Yeah. Which is the other reason I have you here, because we talk a lot. I think we did the similar episode a couple months ago where we talked about odds of like Celtics winning awards. And so, as the Celtics go into this tailspin, I see their odds sort of starting to tumble.
They're reshuffling a little bit
in every regard. So I want to start there.
Okay.
Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah.
Sixth man of the year. Felt like for a stretch, he was just going to run away with the award. And now Emmanuel quickly comes in. The Knicks have one big game against the Celtics, but also as part of their big post second half run here. How are you feeling about Malcolm Brogdon for sixth man of the year?
So he's priced at, and I believe, I don't know what you...
I haven't looked at the updated.
Okay. I got it at plus 120.
Okay.
Malcolm Brogdon at plus 120. At Emmanuel quickly at like minus 165. I think there's some value there on Malcolm Brogdon. Right. I think that Emmanuel quickly, he had a great game against the Celtics, but he's also sometimes in the starting lineup. So I think that if you get in the mind of like an NBA voter, they're going to be, who's the true sixth man that leads this field? And that's Malcolm Brogdon. Hasn't started a single game, and he's not going to. I mean, we've seen the Celtics, as shorthanded as they've been in a few games, and he still is not in the starting lineup. They love him in that role. So I still think that's a great place to go, because it's kind of those two guys, and that's it. Here's the one thing about that market. It's obviously volatile. Yeah. Like you can see guys just jump and leap up there. It is. But I still think there's some value there in Malcolm Brogdon, considering his plus money.
So the one thing I say is, at a point like this, we talk a lot about when we do our in-game segment, is that, you see a run happen and you're thinking, okay, like the odds for me to jump in right now might be better. And that's how I walk away with Malcolm Brogdon. He's been the best sixth man in the league for much of the season. But all these awards are so narrative based that we ride the roller coaster during the year. And it's not until we get till the voters actually have to sit down after the season that you sit there and sort of have to process it. So we'll see where the Knicks finish. If the Knicks surge ahead of the Celtics, there's probably nothing voters will just naturally look at that and go, Emmanuel quickly deserves that award. They finished better than the Celtics. And yet, does it make you uncomfortable at all that he started 12 games, that Malcolm Brogdon has been like the legitimate off the bench guy? Should that factor in when voters vote?
Now, see, that's different because now you're asking about like voting habits.
Yeah.
So I'm not the guy to ask on
No,
that.
but I'm just saying, if I'm putting you in that.
Like if
I
I bet on Malcolm Brogdon and lost it because
Right.
Emmanuel quickly won the award, even though he was most of the time the sixth man.
which is still like 12 starts isn't a lot, but it just means more
Are
minutes.
his numbers that much better than Brogdon's?
No, and
Are they
that-
better at all?
No, I actually
Okay.
think he's lower in points per game, and it's weird because this award is typically somebody who scores a ton of points.
Yeah.
And it's just weird. It's like not only are the Celtics going through a funk, but we're taping this after the Portland game.
Yeah.
When Malcolm Brogdon,
He did not have a good
he
yeah.
missed everything.
Yeah.
And it was so weird to see because he's been so good at finishing around the rim, so good beyond the 3-point arc, and he had nothing going, and it was still plus 11 in that game. So go figure, it's good on Malcolm Brogdon. But I'm interested. I think if the Celtics finish strong, you'll just see Malcolm Brogdon sort of rocket right back up.
I agree with you.
Okay.
What else you got?
We got Joe and Coach of the Year.
So I don't know what those current odds are.
I have not looked either. Again, we're taping this right after game. It's hard to find odds right after game.
He
But
was right there with Mike Brown.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, like if Sacramento finishes in the top 3 in the West, and this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in how long? Like
for
almost 2 decades.
Yeah.
Has it been
it's the
that long?
longest.
It's the longest of the 4 major sports.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. They've got the longest drought. I think there's a chance that Mike Brown could win that award. I mean, I think Joe Mazzulla was in the lead for the whole first half of the season, and rightfully so. Chalk Vaughn was maybe, taking over at points there. But if you're looking for him now, you might not be able to find him.
No,
I'm
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
No.
I've
learned that now that I'm invested.
Yeah. Mike Brown, I would keep an eye on.
Yeah.
As far as that goes. Like, even if the Celtics finish,
It's hard to see them getting back into the 1 position.
and even if they did, if Sacramento is the 3 seed out West, who would you vote for?
I guess it's so hard not to give it to Mike Brown, and just because what were our expectations? Expectations versus reality. Like we thought the Celtics would be good, no matter who the coach was, even though like definitely some volatility at the start there, and now they faded. And so because they've didn't just like steamroll the league, I think you naturally start looking towards the next best option. And I think Mike Brown's probably the favorite there. It would take a really, really strong finish and a poor finish from.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's possible that Sacramento could fall apart a little bit.
True.
So maybe that's where that value is.
So maybe you should keep an eye on that when the Celtics head west in the upcoming 6-game road
Right.
trip.
They will be playing each other.
And the last one I got for you is the Celtics title odds. I do have some numbers on this because I think they're at plus 330 right now. The Suns were at plus 350 and the Bucks were at plus 450.
So the Celtics title odds for the first time in a long time actually lengthened just a bit. And what I mean by that is they were around plus 270.
Okay.
And after this 3-game skid, you've seen it come back a little bit. So plus 330 is where it is now. I don't know. Ask yourself. Here's the thing. So many people have already bet on the Celtics to win the NBA championship. They do not need to entice bettors by moving that number out again to like 400 or 500. So that's not going to happen unless they just go on a crazy skid.
Right.
And if they go on a crazy skid, you're probably going to be sitting there thinking, I don't know, I can bet on the Celtics to win the championship.
So this last 3-game losing streak wasn't a crazy enough skid for them to move.
I mean, they moved,
but
beyond
like,
from like 270 to 330.
right.
So, but I again, they look at it and say, we have so much, we have so many people that have bet on the Celtics. We have so much money on the Celtics to win it that we don't need to entice more people to put more money on it because that creates a liability. So I think that's why the book is comfortable where it is with the Celtics price. And that's why they're still the favorites, even though they might look at it and say they shouldn't be the favorites, but they are the favorites because of that.
I mean, so would I be wrong to say the Bucks are good value because they've started to play better?
No, I don't think you'd be wrong with that. Or, if you feel strongly about a team out West, although I don't. So
right. And I was actually surprised to see the Suns on most of these odds being ahead of the Bucks because I just feel like, and I get it because the Celtics and Bucks have to go through each other. So it's just a cleaner path for the Suns. And yet, when I sit there and I have no idea what's going to happen out West.
No.
I think there's a ton of good value because one of those teams has to be in the finals. I just don't know which one's going to be.
I think Golden State's like around 10-1.
Ooh.
Just like, don't sleep on the Warriors.
Yeah.
Like, this is what happened last year.
Don't
dealt with
we learn?
injuries, and they went on a pretty good run there towards the end of the regular season, went to the playoffs, and obviously had to play on the road. Were they a 3 seed last year? I'm trying to remember. But they obviously weren't the top seed.
Right.
You know what I mean? And They were still the best team when it came to the postseason. So,
and that's always my fear, is that so much is health and just being locked in. And it's what I try to remind myself when the Celtics go into a funk, is now they've been there. It's not like it's a whole new world when they get there. And I do think there's something to the level of focus that increases once you get back to that stage. And I do think that better pacing in the schedule, hopefully better health, and just being laser focused could go a long way towards getting the Celtics back on the track that they slightly veered off of.
Yeah.
In recent games.
How worried were you after the 3 games?
So, you know, what's weird? It's like, I okay, you know me, I ride the roller coaster. I was very mad after the games because each game was just absolutely mind blowing in its own way. Mostly like the Nets game, because it's improbable that they could have blown that lead. The Knicks game was frustrating because it just, you could feel it slipping and you were like, there's no way, they just need to dig in, get like one stop, and they still couldn't do it. And then by the end of it, the last one against Cleveland, I just was, you know, I knew they were going to run out of gas. We talked about it during the game. It felt.
They were coming off a double overtime game the night before. They were without Tatum. You're playing shorthanded.
And so that one didn't surprise me. It was just maddening because of the situation. Grant Williams misses the free throws. And so it's just like, how many gut punches can you give your fan base that has to watch this, and then us having to talk about it? So, but in like when you step back, I think the one thing that worried me is that everyone was sort of hyper focused on this stretch and saying, oh, since the All-Star break, just really, and I was like, I don't know, like there's been concerning signs really over a 2.5 month stretch.
Yeah.
And not enough that I don't think they're still in the mix. They're just not the juggernaut that they look like through the first 26. And that's okay. Like they're one Tatum hot streak. They're one like defense being laser focused away from being like the favorite again. And look, we just talked about it. They're still the favorite.
Yeah.
So
and I look at the upcoming road trip. I mean,
you said you were pretty tough after Monday though.
Yeah, but I didn't feel, you know, Eddie House was saying he had his hand on the panic button. I wasn't there. I felt like this team, they'll be okay. Teams go through stretches like this in the regular season, and you just have to figure it out. And I felt pretty confident, and I feel pretty confident that they're going to figure it out. And I wouldn't be surprised if they win 5 games on this road trip. I mean,
that sounds, so it's funny because like I'm so analytical minded that I think no one goes on the road and wins 5 games. Now the Knicks did it at one point, and that's why they like, or no, Philadelphia did it. Philadelphia went on a West Coast trip, won like 5 in a row. And we said, oh, here come the big bad 76ers, and the Celtics smacked them. But it would still be impressive for the Celtics to sort of dust themselves off. And even on a trip that isn't overwhelmingly daunting in terms of opponent, like you said, Sacramento's still fantastic.
Yeah.
Minnesota's tough just because it's like middle of the trip and because of the size.
Utah is
and Utah's
surprisingly good.
That's the one game that like of all of them that worries me, because you know Danny Ainge and Will Hardy are going to have the inside scouting report on this team, and that team plays well. And if Lauri Markkanen has a big night, all that stuff, like it could get tough. So yeah, I'm interested to see. Like I do think we joked about, is the Portland game a must win? Feels a lot better to win that game, win comfortably, and now go out on the road. If they had lost that one, the 2 days before this trip would have been pretty unbearable here in Boston.
I completely agree, but they didn't. Thank God they got the win. Back in the win column. Losing streak's over. Losing streak
is over. And let's see if last time we joked on Post Up that we did 4 fixes for the Celtics, and the last time we did that they won 9 in a row.
Oh,
so 1 in a row now. If they go on a winning streak, you can go ahead and
say 1 in a row.
1 in a row. You can credit your boy Chris for sparking, because clearly they watch every week our fantastic programming on Celtics Post Up. All right, I need everybody to go like, subscribe. Hopefully you're checking us out on the YouTube page. Big crazy road trip coming up, and we'll have plenty more from it. We'll catch you next time on the Celtics Talk Podcast.